Have you ever wondered why being the smartest person in the room often makes you the most isolated? When you point out flaws in someone's logic or see truths others miss, people don't thank you. They retreat from you. According to Schopenhauer, this isn't just in your head. In a Stanford University study from 2021, researchers discovered something fascinating. Deep thinkers trigger a literal threat response in group settings. Your intelligence isn't just challenging ideas, it's threatening identities. This video explains why society has been programmed to fear those who think too deeply, and why your intellectual isolation might be the price of seeing clearly. The more intelligent you become, the more alone you feel, and Schopenhauer understood why. Society doesn't just passively dislike intelligence. It actively rejects it like an immune system attacking a foreign body. Modern neuroscience confirms this. When someone voices an uncomfortable truth, the amygdala activates as if facing danger. This explains why entire conversations shift when you enter a room. Your intellect isn't being ignored, but resisted on a primal level. The irony? The clearer you're thinking, the more you unsettle others. What if isolation isn't failure, but proof you perceive what they can't? When you enter a room and conversations suddenly stall, it isn't a coincidence, it's biology. Stanford researchers monitored brain activity during group discussions and found something startling. When intellectually superior individuals spoke, others showed heightened activation in the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center. This reaction mirrors how the brain responds to physical danger. Intelligence isn't just disagreed with, it's neurologically registered as a threat. The study revealed a critical distinction between one-on-one and group dynamics. In private conversations, people displayed less defensive reactivity toward deep thinkers. However, in group settings, threat responses spiked dramatically. Why? Social hierarchies intensify when more people are present. Status becomes contested territory, and intelligence becomes weaponized against the group's equilibrium. This explains why groups instinctively silence those who think differently. It isn't personal, it's evolutionary. Early humans survived through cohesion, not dissent. A person questioning group assumptions would have risked the tribe's stability. That same wiring persists today. When someone expresses ideas challenging collective beliefs, primal defense triggers activate before logic intervenes. Schopenhauer observed this centuries before brain scans existed. He noted that mediocrity thrives in clusters because it rarely disturbs social order. However, those who see things too clearly disrupt the unspoken agreements holding groups together. Modern psychology labels this cognitive dissonance backlash. People dislike those who expose their contradictions. Intelligence doesn't merely threaten ideas, it threatens egos. The Stanford research also uncovered an irony. Those who feel most insecure about their own intellectual standing react most aggressively to superior thinkers. The brain registers the disparity as pain. This explains why debates often devolve into personal attacks. When reason falters, ego compensates. Groups amplify this effect by turning singular anxieties into collective resistance. So, what happens when deep thinkers avoid group settings altogether? The data suggests they often do. Social withdrawal isn't always reluctance. Sometimes it's strategic. One-on-one conversations bypass the neurological tripwires that groups activate. But this creates another dilemma. Isolation becomes the price of clarity. There's a second layer to this. The same intelligence that sparks defensiveness in others also alters how thinkers perceive social interactions. They notice microaggressions others miss. They detect subtle dismissals before they're voiced. This hyper-awareness reinforces isolation, creating a feedback loop where intelligence alienates, alienation intensifies insight, and insight further distances. In 1840, Schopenhauer wrote something that would permanently change how people viewed intelligence in isolation. His note, "The more clearly you see, the more harshly you're seen," wasn't just an observation. It was a warning about the social consequences of deep thinking. His unpublished writings expand on this idea, describing intellectual superiority as a kind of exile. When you recognize truths others ignore, you disrupt the illusion society relies on to function smoothly. This creates friction most people instinctively avoid. Psychologists call this friction cognitive dissonance backlash. It explains why people often react with anger, not curiosity, when their assumptions are challenged. The more evidence you provide against their beliefs, the more defensive they become. Schopenhauer noticed this centuries before modern psychology confirmed it. He saw that social circles reward mediocrity not because it's valuable, but because it's safe. Mediocrity doesn't threaten anyone's worldview. It reinforces comfortable illusions instead of dismantling them. Modern research validates Schopenhauer's conclusions. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows why those with limited knowledge resist expertise while overestimating their own competence. People who lack awareness of a subject's complexity assume it must be simple. When someone demonstrates actual depth in that subject, it creates discomfort. The less competent individual can't recognize the gap between their understanding and reality, so they dismiss the expert instead of acknowledging their own limitations. This explains why deep thinkers often struggle to have their ideas taken seriously. Those who need their insights most are incapable of recognizing their value. Consider what happens when someone points out flaws in widely accepted beliefs. The backlash isn't just disagreement, it's emotional. Studies show that cognitive dissonance triggers neurological distress, similar to physical pain. The brain interprets challenged beliefs as threats, activating defense mechanisms before logic can intervene. This isn't about right or wrong, it's about psychological self-preservation. When you present undeniable truths, people don't thank you for enlightening them. They resent you for unsettling their mental equilibrium. Schopenhauer's personal experience reflected this dynamic. His work was largely ignored during his lifetime because it contradicted the dominant philosophies of his era. Only later did people recognize his insights as revolutionary. This delay wasn't due to any flaw in his ideas, but to society's resistance to unsettling truths. The pattern repeats throughout history. Galileo, Nietzsche, Turing. Thinkers who saw too clearly were initially rejected by the very societies that later claimed them as geniuses. The isolation deep thinkers experience isn't accidental, it's structural. Groups reward conformity, not disruption. When someone introduces ideas that challenge collective assumptions, they destabilize the group's cohesion. Even if their insights are correct, the social cost of accepting those insights is often too high. People would rather maintain faulty beliefs than endure the discomfort of re-evaluating their worldview. This creates a paradox. The smarter you are, the harder it becomes to connect with others intellectually. What if your isolation isn't weakness but strength? Schopenhauer saw it first. The deeper your mind cuts, the fewer people see its shape. Neuroscience confirms this detachment isn't failure. Your brain simply filters noise others can't. When conversations feel shallow or debates turn hostile, remember, this friction proves you're operating beyond the herd's frequency. The world benefits from thinkers it rarely understands. Your solitude isn't emptiness. It's the space where originality gestates. Seek those rare minds who reflect your depth. The rest will always flinch at truths too bright for their shadows. Keep seeing clearly.